ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् ॐ. Okay, so today we will do the fifth shloka of chapter 2. Aparnaji, just on time. So if you would like to do the honors and chant.
Namaste. Yes. Verse 5. Can you please show in Sanskrit?
Yeah.
Ah. गुरून् हत्वा हि महानुभावान् श्रेयो भोक्तुं भैक्ष्यमपीह लोके हत्वार्थकामांस्तु गुरूनिहैव भुञ्जीय भोगान् रुधिरप्रदिग्धान्.
Okay, if one of you all would like to read, whoever wants to read.
I can read.
Okay, please.
It would be better indeed to eat food collected from others here in this world than to kill these highly exalted teachers. Whereas if I kill them, the enjoyments of security and pleasure I would experience in this world will be stained with blood. Arjuna also looked upon his grandfather Bhishma as a guru because he had been taught by him as he grew up. Bhishma and Drona were not ordinary gurus of the world. They deserved the status of highly exalted people. In this verse, Arjuna told Krishna that it would be preferable to live on alms than to kill his own people. Bhakshya meaning collecting food from others, something that only sadhus are entitled to do. They take only a little from each person so as not to be a liability on anyone. The whole process of Arjuna's thinking was changing. In fact, his mind had already gone to this way of life rather than to fighting the war. Arjuna knew that if he left the battlefield, he would have to go to the forest. Previously, he had counted on this day to retrieve the kingdom, and he had been looking forward to it for a long time. He had gathered all the weapons he needed. But when the day came, he decided not to fight. What else was left for him to do but go to the forest and live a life of alms? He could not remain in the kingdom. Only from the distant mountain people could he hope to collect a little food on which to live. This was all that was open to him, and he was ready for it. He wanted it, in fact.
So this is there's something called Brahmara Dharma, which sadhus follow. Brahmara is a honeybee, and so they don't completely suck all nectar from a single flower. They will go from one flower to another flower, third flower, etc., etc. So the same way the sadhus, when they collect bhiksha, they are not supposed to inconvenience one single family, but they basically take a morsel of food from everybody. So nobody's going to miss a morsel, but for them it becomes the whole meal. So very beautiful dharma that they follow.
What he wanted, and this was the basis for the only question he had asked again and again in the Gita, which is better of the two? Which is better of the two, karma yoga or sannyasa? Why do you ask me to do karma when there is this other lifestyle? He asked this question in the third chapter and again in the fifth chapter. Then, perhaps because he was a little shy about asking it again, he asked some other questions in between. And then slowly he slipped it in again in the 18th chapter in a different form. What is the difference between Tyaga and Sannyasa? Thus, Arjuna always kept the same thought in his mind. He wanted to be a sadhu, and all of his arguments were directed to this end. Although Bhishma and Drona had come to the battlefield not as teachers but to cast their lot with Duryodhana for the sake of the kingdom, Arjuna's point was that if these people were destroyed, what kind of kingdom would he have? And enjoyment he would experience would be soaked in blood. He would be haunted by the sight of the blood of his teachers. Nothing would remove it from his mind, he was sure. The more one tries to remove a fixation, the more it becomes fixed. There is no way of removing it. If it could be removed, it would not be a fixation. Thus, Arjuna knew that the sight of Bhishma and Drona bleeding to death would be permanently imprinted in his mind. The impact would be so powerful that it would remain a fixation. Therefore, any pleasant experience he gathered would be sullied by the thought of having killed his own people. Any enjoyment he might have had would always be conditioned by the memory of the cost, the blood of Bhishma, Drona, and the others who were killed in the battle. Arjuna then expressed his confusion in the next verse.
So one point to be made here is something called Vasana Kshaya. Has anybody heard that expression?
No.
Okay, so it's an expression that many people, especially in Vedanta circles, misunderstand. So Swami Vidyaranya ji has spoken about it. He's the acclaimed author of Panchadashi, Jivan Mukti Vivekaha, and some of these, wonderful, wonderful granthas that we consider staples of Vedantic studies. And so, what Pujya Swamiji, the way Pujya Swamiji understands and explains this, makes it all very clear, because if expressions such as Nasha or Vasanakshaya are not clearly explained, it can send you down a rabbit hole of confusion and guilt tripping. So, for example, suppose a person has a certain proclivity, it could be an addiction, and if they are constantly trying to break that addiction and trying to figure out that what can I do, this is not going away, tomorrow I'll try again, and they keep trying to break away from this affliction that they are faced with, it's only going to seep deeper and deeper into the mind. It's not going to go away that easily. So the better approach, the psychologically sound approach, and the approach that the traditional acharyas of Vedanta prescribe, not the modern acharyas who create a lot of confusion, what the traditional acharyas prescribe is, rather than trying to eliminate a certain vasana, it is better to cultivate a value for its opposite. So for example, if I am a miser, Conjuice. I don't want to give my money to anybody. I hold very tightly to my wallet, and I don't want to share with anyone. I don't want to help anyone. I'm just a conjuice miser. Now, what is the way to treat that condition? It's not by thinking that, okay, why should I be a miser? Ultimately this is all Bhagwan only. Lakshmi is something that we are only caretaking. It doesn't belong to us, etc., etc. We can be okay. Okay, you can rationalize all that. But next day when you have to give money to somebody again, you'll feel the tug that no, I don't want to share. And so the way to treat miserliness is by danam. Just do it. Take it to make it. First you just give,
Mhm.
and then you'll be like, you know what? It didn't feel that bad. So I think I can do it again. Second time you do it, it'll be easier. Third time you do it, it'll be much easier. And fourth time you do it, you'll actually start getting pleasure from sharing with other people, because you realize that it wasn't that difficult in the first place. Okay. There was a nice sign I saw outside. There was this lake, very cold water, and there was a sign which said, "If you keep staring at the water, it's not going to get any warmer." And I really like that, because sometimes when you are trying to jump into a cold pool, or if the geyser doesn't work and you need a cold shower, you'll hesitate. Like for 10-15 seconds, you'll brace yourself,
Mhm.
you'll prepare yourself. It's not going to help. Just go do it. So, when it comes to Vasana Kshaya, for instance, now, suppose there's something that I'm dealing with, go cultivate the value for the opposite of that thing. And then you will find that the thing that you're trying to get rid of, it just automatically drops away. It loses its power over you.
Mhm.
So that is why Vasanakshaya is not some sadhana that one should pursue. That, array, I have a sweet tooth, but everything is Brahman. Even food is Brahman. Even salty food is Brahman. Even bitter food is Brahman. But I am so biased. I have one preference. I cannot have another. All this, it'll haunt you. And then as you start writing a list of all of the things that you actually have a longing or a desire for, the list will be endless. And you'll fill a whole book that, this is on my bucket list. I want to do this. I want to do that. I did not do this. I want to FOMO over this, etc., etc., etc. And then one by one you'll try to go after it, and it's not going to work. It's never going to work. So, when we talk about the values that are taught in the Gita, especially in chapter 13, there's 4 or 5 shlokas. I think it's 4 shlokas. uh, Amanitvam, Adam, all of those values are taught by Bhagwan Krishna. And when you focus and when you cultivate those values, for example, if a person thinks I'm very gamandi, very arrogant, that arrogance goes away when you think about the value of amanitvam. When you understand what amanitvam is, you don't have to say, I need to get rid of manitvam. You just say that, okay, I need to cultivate a lifestyle and attitude which allows me to express a lesser degree of manitvam. That comes through reflection and looking at those good values. Then, somebody may have a violent streak. Okay, focus on the principles of ahimsa. Read the stories that reflect this value, and then slowly you'll start seeing that your heart has softened, and it's no longer as hard and as callous as it used to be. So this is a psychological trick. If you have any friend or anybody who's suffering from something, tell them to do the opposite, and they'll drop their issue. It'll go away. Okay. Let's talk.
Prashant, I will
Yes,
actually tell you my own experience.
sure.
So I have another group where we study Vedanta, and there was this guy who was addicted to smoking, and basically we were just practicing how mindfulness, just being aware of whatever you're doing, just try to incorporate for every moment of your life, right? He For years he had been a chronic smoker, and then it affected his health, and he started joining the class, and just with mindfulness he actually quit the smoking in one day, and he was shocked himself. And when I heard that story, I got motivated because I was a sweet tooth, like you mentioned, and it was one in the back of my mind that I know I cannot control it, but that's something which I want to work on because I know it didn't feel good after eating a lot of sugar. And I started becoming aware. So initially, first couple of times, what they said is don't push it, don't resist it. If you resist it, then it's going to come back with even more force, and it's going to prevent you from making any progress. So when that craving comes, go ahead, you can enjoy it, but enjoy with mindfulness. That okay, I'm eating it, and that click something in my brain that next time that urge came after a long time, and then the distance started becoming more. And then when I started relating it to how bad I feel the crash after eating the sugar, and I don't want to feel like that, and that totally changed everything. Like what you said, you connect your mind to the opposite, that I don't want to feel bad after eating that, and now it's totally in my control. I actually got rid of my habit of eating late night ice creams,
Oh, that's
completely
very
gone.
good. Wonderful.
So it is actually very powerful if people can understand just how powerful the mindfulness and just awareness and putting your focus on to the opposite, the higher one, that lower will drop off easily.
Yeah, yeah, that definitely does happen. So, okay, so next shloka.
Okay. Sixth sloka. न चैतद्विद्मः कतरन्नो गरीयो यद्वा जयेम यदि वा नो जयेयुः यानेव हत्वा न जिजीविषामः तेव स्थिताः प्रमुखे धार्तराष्ट्राः.
Who wants to read?
Anybody wants to
Anybody
read?
wants to read?
Yeah, may I?
May I?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure.
And we do not know which of the two will be better for us, that we should conquer them or that they should conquer us. the sons of Dhritarashtra, after slaying whom we will indeed not want to live, stand facing us. In this verse, Arjuna told Krishna that he did not know which was better to win the battle against the enemies, who were his own people, or to be defeated by them. Regardless of who was victorious, the problem would remain. To be victorious, Arjuna had to destroy all these people. He would have the pleasures of a kingdom but would be unable to enjoy them. For Arjuna, then the choice was meaningless because Krishna was telling him to get up and fight. He was confused about how the victory could be good for him. If, on the other hand, Duryodhana won, the Pandavas would have to go to the forest and live a life of bhikshu. Although this lifestyle was arduous and there would be no enjoyments, Arjuna thought that it was definitely the better of the two alternatives. He said the Pandavas did not want to live by destroying the sons of Dhritarashtra and those connected to them, Bhishma, Drona, Kripa, and so on, all of whom were standing in front of him on the battlefield. He called the war a no win situation. It would be one big loss, and he had no interest in it. But Krishna had told him that what he was thinking of doing was wrong. Therefore, Arjuna argued that whether it was wrong or right, the situation was such that he could not see anything good coming to him from fighting.
See,
Then
so
Arjuna, yeah,
yeah, sorry, yeah, that'll be the next verse. But
then Arjuna explained himself. Yeah, it's for the next part.
yeah, yeah, and so there's a very critical issue in Arjuna's thinking. Bye bye. What he is doing is he's personalizing a universal problem of dharma and making it about himself. Again, like you can at one level admire him for being a decent person who doesn't want to kill others, etc. But on the other hand, you have to also see the shortcoming in his vision, which is that he sees not people who are adharmic, who are subjugating the public, who will turn the kingdom into their own play zone, but rather he is seeing friends, relatives, cousins, uncles, etc., etc., etc. So it's all become about him. But let's say if this were not Arjuna, but for as a hypothetical, it were a random XYZ high level superior soldier with the same capacity as Arjuna, but without the relationships that Arjuna had with these people. In that case, that person would not see any issue fighting the war because he knows that the people that he's fighting with are placed in a position of adharma and their rule would not be one which would benefit the kingdom. So Arjuna has again like personalized a universal problem of dharma, which is where his flaw in understanding the battlefield and what his role is leads him to want to escape from it. Okay, so if you'd like to read the next one. Oh, you're muted. You're on mute.
Okay, yes. Verse 7. कार्पण्यदोषोपहतः स्वभावः पृच्छामि त्वां धर्मसम्मूढचेताः यच्छ्रेयस्यान्निश्चितं ब्रूहि तन्मे शिष्यस्तेऽहं शाधि मां त्वां प्रपन्नम्.
Overcome by faint heartedness, confused about my duty, I ask you which is definitely better for me. Please tell me. I am your student. Please teach me who has taken refuge in you. Verse 8. I Yeah, we have to read the verse 8. Aparna
Yeah,
ji.
sorry. Yeah. Aparnaji, yes.
प्रविश्यामि ममापनुद्यात् यच्छोकमुच्चोषणम् इन्द्रियाणाम् अवाप्य भूमौ असपत्नमृद्धम् राजं सुराणामपि चाधिपत्यम्.
I do not see anything that will remove the sorrow that dries up my senses, even if I were to obtain an unrevealed and prosperous kingdom on earth and sovereignty over the denizens of heaven. We will look at the second of these two verses first. Here, Arjuna described how his sorrow had dried up his sense organs so that they could not function. His arms and legs also seemed to have atrophied. The energy in them had been totally sapped by this incapacitating sorrow, nor could he see any way of removing it. Even if he found the courage to fight because of his commitment to Dharma and because Krishna asked him to fight, Arjuna did not think his sorrow would ever go away. He saw it was something inside of himself, a sorrow that cannot be alleviated. In fact, only the sad becomes sad. No one suddenly becomes sad. Just as the angry becomes angry, the sad becomes sad. If you are already angry inside, all that you require is a reason to become angry. Similarly, the jealous become jealous and the lonely become lonely. Therefore, these feelings indicate that there is a problem already there underneath. Arjuna recognized an inner unwept sadness and felt sad. Sometimes the sadness that is underneath comes out. Otherwise, it always remains hidden there. In between the bouts of sadness that come out, there is some laughter, not because of your effort, but in spite of it. Sadness seems to be something that is identical with the person. Arjuna concluded that even gaining an unrevealed kingdom on earth would not allay his sorrow.
Yeah, I would pause here because this is a very crucial thing to understand. Like the I'll pause here for a second, see if you have any questions or if you understand this part clearly. Very important. Does it all make sense? Okay. So essentially, once I think Pujya Swamiji had told Swamini Atma Prakashananda ji, and or maybe she said it herself, but what she said is no person can actually hurt you. They can only create a situation to reveal the pain that is already inside. And so, if a person, you know, when I was young, and you have like domestic helpers or whoever is there, my dad used to tell me ki don't leave like chutta paisa out and things like that. So don't leave any loose money out. And I was like, why? These are good, decent people. They wouldn't bother. He said, you don't even want to create a temptation that might corrupt them if they were good otherwise. So like they may not have it in their mind, but suppose they are decent people, but they see an opportunity to do something wrong. You don't want to create a temptation, and by doing so, inadvertently, even corrupt their way of thinking or make them question whether they should, take the money or not. So, I thought about that, and it seemed to make sense at that point. But in retrospect, as Punja Samji says over here, if there was something inside the person, it would come out. If the person was an honest person, they would not take it. If the person was not an honest person, they would take it either way. Your stimulus or your incentives or whatever it is that you provide is not going to change the person. It is only going to bring out what the person is all about. So that's one thing. And it can work both ways. So for example, if the person is on the fence somewhere between dharmic and adharmic with respect to should I or should I not take somebody's money, what that event can do is either make it worse for the person or make it better. So let me explain it this way. Suppose the person decides that, should I not, and they succumb to the pressure, and then they take that whatever 50, 100 rupees, whatever it is, and they'll put it in their pocket and pretend like it never happened. Now what is going to happen is the next time they see something like that, either at your place or at somebody else's place or in any situation, they will not think twice before taking it because they already pulled the first move. The first move was the confusion. The second move is the ascertainment of the first. Okay. There's or another thing could happen. Um, if the person is on the fence, but they are a little bit more inclined towards the dharmic orientation, then they will be like, okay, should I take, should I not take? And then they'll decide, I shouldn't take. And I'm sad that this thought of should I take also crossed my mind. And so the next time that person is faced with a similar situation, they will always choose, no, I will not take, because that decision has already been made the first time around. So, I changed my mind on that perspective, and I think it's okay. You leave it out there. You give the person a decision to decide where they want to lean, and then that's whatever's going to happen is going to happen anyway. But of course, you keep your money in your pocket as long as you can because it's a good practice. Why not? Um, there's I don't know if anybody's watched Casino Royale, the Bond film. Anybody? No? Okay. So it's a good one. Daniel Craig, 2006, I believe. And so the first scene basically shows Bond's first kill assignment. And they show that okay, he's scuffling with this person, and okay, finally he kills him. And then he shows up to this underboss at his headquarters or in his office room or wherever it is. And he has already emptied that guy's pistol. So it's an empty gun, and he pulls it up. But then Bond has the loaded pistol. So then the villain is basically saying he's trying to stall Bond to create time to be able to shoot the guy. So he says that the first time it's really tough to kill a person, but the second time the Bond shoots him, and before he completes the sentence, he says yes, considerably easier. So that's what happens to people in the army as well. That just imagine that you are employed by your government, you are fighting for your nation, but you have to pull the trigger. It may be an enemy, it may be a terrorist, it may be the most terrible person, but I bet you feel something when you take your first life. But each subsequent one becomes much easier and easier and easier. And that is how the human mind works. That when you cultivate a value, like you talked about eating sweets or you talked about the smoking part, each time a person succumbs to that instinct, it gets deeper. Each time you break away from it, it gets easier. And so, it's a good idea to fake it to make it. And that's why cultivating the opposite desire is a great idea. So for example, if a person has unhealthy habits, forget about it, focus on good health instead. And then you'll find that yes, a consequence of good health means that these unhealthy habits will automatically fall to the wayside. They will not be a burden upon me anymore. I can give you my example as well. I suppose I used to enjoy sweets, chocolates, things like that. But then at some point, Ambika's laughing here. She's like, at some point, I realized, the same as you, that sugar is terrible for your body. We as human beings are not designed to eat sugar. We have, and I have to say, especially our Indian diet is very carb heavy. I don't know if you've noticed this, but in Gujarati, you say petu thing. Petu means you have a big pot belly when you're middle aged, and a lot of Indian men turn pot bellied after they hit like 35 onwards and 40 onwards. They become motu. You go on the street and you look around, you'll see that there are a lot of fat people on the road, right? But if you go to a place like Europe or if you go to Japan and all, you'll see really skinny, not skinny, but healthy, I would say, proportionate people with the right, fat to protein ratio and things like that. So fat to muscle ratio in their body. And you have to think about it that our diet is so carb heavy, and then on top of that we have so many festivals. Oh my goodness. And instead of celebrating the spirit of the festival, we turn it into a, like a, I guess, hog fest. It's just about making sweets. I don't think that anywhere in the Gita, Bhagavan has said that please, please, you offer me only sweets as prasadam. What does he say? Pushpam, phalam, pani, jalam, right? He says those things. But somehow, because we like a lot of sweets, we say that during all of these 50 festivals in a year, we will offer only sweets and mithai and this and that to Bhagavan, and that is prasad. In fact, if you go to mandirs also, when they talk about prasad, they always talk about sweets. Naivedyam is not the only type of prasadam. Today you can offer a banana, you offer apple, you opt for whatever. So whenever some Mahatma comes at home, some great, Acharya, teacher, whoever, I will always offer fruits. I never give sweets unless, I know they have a sweet tooth and they want it, take it. Because it's like we've turned this into a fashion sort of and a routine. So anyway, that's just my little thing about how we need to break cultural habits also, because we impose our vasanas upon Ishvara. And then we say Ishvara likes all of these things. Arey bhai, one example of Ganapati eating modakam, but everybody else doesn't eat. Na? So then let's, not obsess over sweets so much. Okay, so let's, shall we continue next week? Or do we do one more? Next week chalega? Okay, chalo. Right. Thank you. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Okay, namaste.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hari Om.
Thank you. Hari Om.
Namaste.